Welcome back to part 6 of my developer overview on Treasure. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and I've been kind of up in the air about how I want to finish them because some of the consoles, as some of you guys who know me may realize, some of the consoles that I need to play some of the games are not here anymore. And I also don't have the ability to capture the, particularly the handheld games. So like the GBA games, the DS games, those sorts of things. But I am going to try to finish this as best as I can, and hopefully all the major games, all the the really great ones will be covered. So at any rate, today I want to talk to you about two games that were released on the PlayStation, and that is Silhouette Mirage and Rakugaki Showtime. So let's take a closer look. Silhouette Mirage was originally released to the Sega Saturn in Japan in 1997. Subsequently, it was ported over to the PlayStation in 1998 with several added bosses that weren't in the original version. In 1999, Working Designs translated it and released it in North America to the PlayStation, and this version is actually considerably more difficult, and that's the one that we'll be seeing here. The game is essentially a 2D run and gun, and it's often been compared to Gunstar Heroes, although I don't think there's really all that much in common with the games. The primary mechanic is this sort of polarity feature where if you're facing right, you can see you're red, if you're facing left, you're blue, and if you're a different color than your enemies, then you can actually destroy them, and if you're the same color as you see there, then you drain their spirits, which actually increases your weapon power. There are various weapon types available in the game that can be purchased at shops with coins that you get from various enemies, and the way you do this is by either killing them, or you can do what's called a cash bash, which is where you grab the enemy and then you just sort of beat the crap out of them and take all of their money. There's a tutorial system that runs at the beginning of the game, and I would recommend that you go through this because this sort of helps familiarize you with the various moves that you'll need to do, and there are quite a few of them, and you'll really need to know these in order to play the game well. The first two stages allow you to kind of familiarize yourself with the game and the various mechanics that you'll need to learn. Like many Treasure games, this game is sort of built around the boss battles, which in the beginning are not terribly hard, but they do get a lot more difficult as the game goes on. In addition to your normal shot and your ability to drain the spirits of various enemies, you'll need to learn how to reflect bullets, which you can see in this boss battle here is a very important aspect. And certain enemies you really can only defeat with this reflection feature.
Reflector! Reflector! Enemy power status critical. Reflector!
The regular stage enemies become much more difficult as the game goes along, and this happens pretty quickly. And I would say that one of my few complaints about the game is that there really aren't enough of these sort of easy enemies to where you can sort of rack up on coins and whatnot to purchase various weapons. And being that a lot of the game is down to the boss battles where you can't recover a lot of this sort of thing, I feel like they could have put a lot more in that so that you don't have to optimize everything so much. That being said, the boss battles are quite enjoyable, and trying to figure out exactly how you want to negotiate these bosses is a big part of the game. There are also some segments of the game that are essentially sort of speedrun segments where you are outrunning some sort of large enemy that's coming up behind you. And I think this adds kind of a nice variety to the game.
Yow! That hurts! Carpet bombs!
Although it's not shown in the footage so much, there's actually quite a bit of storyline to this game, which kind of adds a lot of interest for some people. And you probably won't be surprised to find out that it was developed by the same team that made Guardian Heroes.
I wonder how many seconds you'll last this.
And I find the game overall to be very enjoyable, although I will say this American release is very difficult. And as I said before, I feel like the optimization is kind of a requirement, and maybe they could have made it just a little bit easier in that sense.
Yeah!
Rakugaki Showtime is one of Treasure's lesser-known games, and it was released in 1999 to the PlayStation in Japan only, so you'll have to be able to play an import PlayStation game to be able to play this. And I should note from personal experience that I do have a Japanese PS2, and for some reason this game doesn't work on it, so you may indeed have to have a Japanese PS1 specifically. The somewhat crude, hand-drawn art style of the game is kind of a signature of it, and this is really unique in Treasure's output, and honestly really unique just in general. The game is essentially an arena dodgeball game, and it is a lot of fun. You participate in various matches against either single enemies or multiple enemies, and I really love some of these animations, the fact that some of the enemies are smoking, which you'd never see in a current release. In addition to throwing the dodgeballs, you can pick up your enemies and either throw them on the ground or at one another. And when you pick up the dodgeball, you can either throw it regularly, you can press the directional arrow towards your enemy to give you a much faster but less powerful shot, or if you see here, you can press away from the enemy and the dodgeball will move much slower but give you a much more powerful hit. As the dodgeballs are used, you can see that they get redder and redder until finally you get this sort of glowing dodgeball here. And if you pick that one up, then you can use a special attack, and that's dependent again on the directional arrow that you use. And it's also dependent on your character. There are 4 characters to choose from initially, and each one has different attributes that you can try out and see which one you like. Some are faster, some are more powerful, the usual sort of variety. As you saw in the opening footage, there's also the God Hand, which is this giant hand that draws everything. And the God Hand actually will draw certain things within the environments to help you out or to, provide useful. One of them you see here are these sort of missiles that you can use. You can actually pick them up and throw them at enemies. But you do have to be careful because they will damage you too if you get hit by one. But this kind of adds another little aspect to the gameplay that I think is a lot of fun. One of the downsides of this game is that as it is fairly rare, it's very expensive, and of course you'll have to have your import PlayStation to be able to play this if you live in the West. So, I'm not sure if it's completely worth it, but it is a really fun game, so if you really feel like you want to try it out and you've got the cash to spare, then I would definitely recommend it. The various enemies you face will also have different attributes, and you'll have to learn these in order to really master the game. Some of them will be much quicker than others, some of them will be much more powerful, and when you have multiple ones at the same time, they'll tend to sort of gang up on you, so you'll have to learn how to deal with this. While the single-player mode is a lot of fun, the real fun in the game, I think, is in the multiplayer. So if you have a lot of friends over, you can play together, throw dodgeballs at each other, and just have a great time. In the single-player mode, you'll also run into bosses, essentially, in addition to your regular matches, and each one will have, different attributes and special powers that you'll have to learn how to combat. So all in all, I think these two PlayStation releases are a lot of fun, and they show kind of the quirky character of a lot of the Treasure games. And, I just generally would recommend checking them out if you get the chance. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for watching.